Alright, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Zane, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a clean Fortnite banner for Twitter. First we're going to start off with a canvas, 3000 by 1000 pixels. Let's go ahead and create the canvas. Here we have it. I'm going to unlock the background layer, double click the thumbnail, and we're going to start off with a darker, bit of a darker background here. And I prefer to use like a dark grey rather than like a black. Now I'm gonna open a pack of mine. It's not exactly my pack. It is one that I purchased, Inverse V2. And I'm gonna be opening part 2 as well, because there's a part 1 and part 2. And there we have it, Inverse 2. And now I'm also going to open my Fortnite pack. I'll have a link to it in the description as well. It's basically just a pack full of Chapter 2, like screenshots of the map, and I think it might even have some renders as well, yeah. Here we have some actual renders too. I think we're going to use Hush just for this pack. And we're going to go back and we're going to get some screenshots of the map as well now. But that's basically it there. And I'm just going to fit it into a position that I'm happy with. I kind of like that actually. Maybe give it a little bit of a rotate. That would do it. Now I'm going to Control U to desaturate the image in the background as well. Now although that's black and white now, it's still like a very bland tone. So what I'm going to do now is go to Curves. I'm going to make sure I create a clipping mask, or you can just select that little icon there. And I'm just going to sort of play around with it until I'm happy with it. I like a bit more contrast in the image. I'm just going to go with like a sort of S shape here. I think that's a bit too much there. There we go. And I'm actually going to make it a bit darker as well. There we are, I'm pretty happy with that so far. And I'm actually just going to merge them, so I'm going to select Curves and the screenshot using shift click, and I'm going to go Control E, just so I have less layers to work with, just for the sake of this tutorial. Normally I wouldn't do that, but that's really up to you guys. I'm going to go back into this pack and I'm going to close it here. And I'm going to go into smokes. I'm just going to push this up above the character here. I'm going to get a large soft brush. Go pretty sizable one, around about 500 pixels. Make sure the hardness is at 0. I've got my opacity at about 42. Doesn't have to be that exact number, but this is just so I have a bit more control over what I'm erasing. And I'm just going to sort of go over it here. I think that's pretty good there. Now what I'm going to do for the background here is I'm going to click on this little symbol here. I'm going to select the gradient map. I'm going to clip it to my background as well. Now basically what I want to do here is match the colors sort of similar to the Hush skin itself. So I'm going to pick like a black and yellow. Nothing too dark like this one here, although to be honest I am quite a fan of that one. Go with like a darker here. And let's move that more to the side. And let's get like a nice white here. Down slightly closer to orange, just like that. And I think that's perfect. Save that gradient as well in case we would want to use it again. Now what we want to do is get a black brush, make it pretty sizable, because we're just going to basically go over this whole part of the mask, and make sure you've got that rectangle there selected, not this part but the actual white part of the thumbnail, the actual mask itself. And we're just going to erase anything that's on the right side of our render, just like so. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do some curves as well. And I basically just want to make it a little bit more contrasted, just like so. And I'm going to do the same thing as well, but I'm actually going to drop my opacity to about 22, make the brush a bit larger and a bit harder this time as well, and just go back over this. Okay, so before we move on to text, we're going to do some lighting for the character itself. So we need it to match the scene that we've put it in. So we're going to create a new layer above the Hush, and we're going to mask it to the render as well. So that basically means anything I do is only going to affect the render itself, as you can see. So now we're going to use our brush tool. I'm going to set mine to about 150 pixels. or maybe even a little bit smaller. We're going to go about 130 pixels, and I'm just going to select a nice yellow from the background here. Let's get something that's still sort of bright though, about there, or actually something close to the skin. And what you want to do is just sort of go around the edge of it, very gentle. You don't want to do anything too harsh. Too much, and that's basically it there. And we're not done, we're just going to mess around with the blending mode of it as well. So I'm actually going to go to divide, and then I'm going to change the hue of it until it matches the color, because divide just sets a natural lighting basically. So we're just going to mess around with the hue slider until we get a nice yellow that we're happy with. I think actually if we slide it all the way to 180, that's good. Now we're going to go into my pack. We're going to open particles, and let's find one that we like. This one's pretty good, but it's quite over the top. I think we're going to go with particles 1 for the sake of the tutorial. Put it above the hush. Sit it about here. Make sure it's all the way up, like so. We're going to get a soft brush and just sort of get rid of this hard cutoff here. Actually, we're going to get rid of anything that's on this side. So that's what we're left with. And we're going to control U just to make it fit with the color scheme that we've got going on. And I think like a nice orangey yellow like that will do the trick. And we're going to go into the inverse pack, and we're going to go to explosions now. Now the inverse pack is isn't free. I actually paid for this pack myself. We're probably going to go with this explosion here, if I'm honest, and I'm going to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to go behind the pack, behind the render. I'm going to drop this explosion several times just around the edge, just like this here. And you'll see what I'm doing in just a moment, but I'm basically just going to go around like this. And I'm duplicating using the short key, or the hotkey, Control J, by the way, in case you're wondering. And that's basically it, and we're going to merge all of them together and then select screen again. Now once again I'm going to go gradient map. I'm going to select the black and white overlay like so. I'm going to clip it to our explosion in the background. I'm going to get the black brush, and I'm basically just going to select it all, like just paint over this side here, so we've still got color going on the left side. So you can sort of see the theme I'm going with. The left side has color, the right side doesn't. It's all black and white. And we can merge the explosions now, and then just do screen again, of course. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that explosion we've made, drag it above our render, create the clipping mask so it's only affecting our render, and I'm going to get a soft brush, and I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller than the size of the character's head, just like this, and I'm just going to go through the middle, just so it's not so intense basically. But we want a little bit going over our character, just so it looks like a natural sort of explosion, because obviously if it's surrounding her the way it is, it's not always just going to sit behind her like so. So if I remove it now, it's very subtle, but you can see the difference it's made. So right now you're probably thinking like, well, barely any of it's above her now, but if I get rid of it, you can see the difference it's actually implemented. I'm actually going to make this one for Papi. So what I'm going to do is add the text. And don't worry, that's not the font we're going to use. That was for a previous header I've made. But with this font here, the font's called Cafe Nero M54. It's a new one I've just downloaded. I found it on DaFont. It's free. I'll leave a link to it in the description as well. But we're basically just going to size it, and we're just going to position it until it locks into the middle, just like so. And that's basically it there. We're happy with that size. I'm going to make it like a grayish sort of color, like a very light gray. And we're going to do some blending styles to it. So I'm going to add an inner shadow, and I'm going to keep it white at 100 opacity and just 5 distance, and it's that simple. The angle, you can just sort of mess around with it. Mine's at 135 right now, and I'm going to set the drop shadow of it to about 100 opacity as well, size 9, distance 6, and I'm going to set the shadow to the same angle as the lighting as well. Basically like so, and let's just make that 135 again. That should be the same. Yep, and I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to add a little bit of satin to it as well. So let's set it to black, and let's mess around with the settings for it. I'm pretty happy with that there, about 32 and 46, and then we're going to go for an inner glow as well. And honestly, that there is just about perfect for what I'm looking for. And that's just to make the text a little bit, you know, outlandish. It makes it stand out a little bit more. So what we're going to do is duplicate the text, just like so, with Control J. We're going to hide the bottom one. We're going to hold on to it. Actually, we're going to copy the layer style, just like so, and then we're going to hide it. Now with this one here, we're going to clear the layer style. It's probably an easier way to do this. I've really gone the hard way about it. We're going to get our pen tool, and we're just going to select a little bit lower than half. We're going to select about halfway actually. We'll go halfway, and then we'll just move the canvas over and go around about halfway for this side as well. And then we're just going to connect the dots, just like so. And we're going to, you can't fill the path. We need to make a new layer. And we're going to fill path, and we're going to make it white, just like so. And just clip mask it to the text. Now what we're going to do here with this one is we're going to set an inner shadow, make it black. The distance can stay very low, and then we're just going to increase the size, just like so. And we'll just set the color overlay to white. Actually, we don't need to do that. And we're going to set an outer glow as well, and we're going to make it white. Make sure the blend mode is normal, and we're just going to increase the size of it all the way up. And now what we're going to do is merge them together with Control E, and we're going to paste our layer style. And that's basically it there. We're going to mess around with it a little bit, just because the satin is a bit intense, and it's increasing the shadow quite a lot. And I'm actually going to go to color overlay, set it to white, set it to normal, and we're just going to drop the opacity of it a little bit to about 36%. And that's basically our text there, ready to go. And what you can do now is you can go to curves, and you can mask it, and just sort of play around with it as well. And that way we can get a more definitive look, make it look exactly how we want. Now, what I like to do sometimes as well is, for this next part, we're just going to have to rasterize the layer style. We can delete the old text there. Now what I'm going to do on top of this is actually going to start a new layer, and we're going to clip it to the curve. And we're going to get a nice sort of yellow color. Actually, we could probably just get it from here. That will do it. And what I'm going to do basically is I'm just going to go over the R. Increase the hardness as well. I'm going to set my opacity to 100%. And just like so. And I'm going to select a bit of an orangey color as well. Drop my hardness and just sort of go over the bottom like this. And then I'm going to make it darker even. And then I'm going to get a white over the top, just like that. And what I'm going to do is erase basically the outsides here where it's starting to overlap our other text, like our other letters. And what I'm going to do is set it to pinned light, and I'm just going to get this color again. We're going to remove the white. We're just going to go over the top there like that. And let's just erase what's happened over here. I'm going to increase the hardness just so I get a very specific arrays going on. Just like so. Just that little bit of color over this side just sort of brings it to life a little bit more as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our rectangle tool, and we're basically just going to make a small rectangle like that, and we're going to Control J to duplicate it, hold down Shift when we rotate it as well, and just lock it into place with the other rectangle. And make sure you rasterize layers as well, and then merge them. And basically what we're going to do with that is drop the size of it, and just move it over here to the corner of the text until it just sort of locks into place. And then we're going to duplicate it, rotate it, just like that, so it's like an L shape. And move it over here to go under the P, and it will lock into place also. Just like so. And what I'm going to do as well is, since Papi is a player for Team Soccer, or SAQR, I'm just basically going to add a little bit of recognition as well, and we'll put it underneath here, just like so. Now I believe their colors are actually like more of an orange as well, so we'll do a bit of an orange, and we'll just mess around with a couple blending options for it as well. Sorry, didn't mean to go stroke, I meant to go inner shadow, just like that. We have a bit of an inner glow. Yeah, barely noticeable, but it's there, and it's still noticeable. It's not exactly too subtle. And now what we're going to do is make a new layer at the very top. We're going to get a pretty bloody large soft brush here. We're just going to make it white. Make sure the opacity is at about 25%-ish. We're just going to basically do a click there, and a few more clicks there. And then we're going to get the black, and we're just going to do the same down the bottom. But we're just going to basically darken the bottom a little bit. And what we're going to do there is now set it to overlay. So it's not a huge difference, but it's very subtle, but it does make it look a little bit nicer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select our top layer, hold down shift, select our bottom layer, and just click this little folder icon, and that groups it all into one little folder, just like that. And we're going to duplicate it with Control J and then merge it with Control E, hide our bottom layer. Now while we've got the top one selected, we're going to use our marquee tool to basically select the whole thing and go right click and then layer by cut, and then delete that little middle layer there. So now what you can see is we've got just this here, and what we're going to do is duplicate it and go filter, camera raw filter, and we're just going to mess around with a bit of the temperature and stuff like that as well. So we're just going to shift the blue to the left a little bit, increase the exposure just a tad, and the contrast as well. I actually like to add quite a bit of contrast to these sort of headers, and just mess around with the shadows and such as well until we're happy with what we've got. Now if we go to HSL adjustments, we can basically remove any other colors that are there. So if there's any reds, we can get rid of them. Oranges as well, gone. We can increase the vibrance of our yellow, and we can drop like greens and such as well. Now I actually want to keep a bit of the blue just because of the temperature we've added, so we're just going to keep that at about +3. Remove purples and magentas, and that way we're left with this. If I were to add a new hue slider up the top here, I can just sort of experiment with it too. It's going to change the background a bit because we did add that cool background, but I'm pretty happy with this here actually. This is more what I'm looking for, if I'm honest. Here, what I'm going to do now, I'm actually just going to create that new layer there, hide all these, and I'm just going to go camera raw filter, and I'm just going to experiment with this a little bit more. And there we have it. After a bit of basic color correction and whatnot, we're at a finished product that I'm happy with. So at the end there, you don't exactly have to copy what I did, but I just did some minor color correcting as well. But that's basically what we're left with. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you're happy with your final product, and I'll be back with another video hopefully shortly.